Welcome back to the Cerebral Palsy Perspective. I'm Chad Williams, here with my co-host, Daryl Perry. Today, we want to talk about strength. When most people think about strength, they think about physical things. They think about lifting more weights or running faster or pushing harder. But with, living with cerebral palsy, it can force you to think about strength a little differently. You can redefine what strength actually means. For me, it's not always about pushing harder. Sometimes it's about adapting or being patient or continuing to show up when things feel off. So today I wanted to talk about that a little bit, to talk about the different types of strength, the strength that people see and the strength that they don't see. And so there are a lot of important layers there. So I think that makes for a good conversation. And what are your thoughts on that, Daryl, when you think about strength?
I think we're I think much the same way. I think there's layers to it. I think that physical strength is important. I think adaptability it's a huge skill to have. And I think anybody that's listening that has cerebral palsy, or if you've got someone that has cerebral palsy that's in your life, you see where you kind of look at a situation and you have to make adjustments sometimes on the fly. You do have to be patient at times, have to be patient with yourself. A lot of times your brain wants to do one thing and your body says, no, we're not doing that. Or, we got to make adjustments to do that. And I think mentally and emotionally is a huge thing too, because I think one layer of that applies to everybody, having the awareness and the fortitude and the consistency to want to push forward. But I think for us, we really do have to be connected to ourselves, because there are things that make us different from a lot of the population. So we have to kind of have an extra layer too. But yeah, I think there's different levels and different layers to it.
Yeah, so like for me, last year, for example, I've been on this running journey for a couple years, but like last year I had the best year that I've had as far as this goes. And I felt strong, and I had, a couple times I was lucky enough to have like some top finishes or age group finishes. And I was doing all these things that felt, they felt strong to me. And it's early in the year, but this year has already looked different.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to work through a couple injuries, and I've had to navigate some different setbacks. And I think, I've got these special races on my calendar, and I think my mindset has shifted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on like top finishes or faster miles. I'm looking more at just showing up and being able to be out there and participate. I'm not focusing on performance or results. That doesn't take away from it. So the strength for me this year is more about resilience and patience and adjusting my expectations. The gratitude for just being out there and being able to participate, and that doesn't make it any less. And so that's just a shift that I've had. And I think, that's important too.
It is, and actually, I think mine has to do with running as well. And every spring, I get the bug that I want to get into running again. Now, the way we've talked many times about how when we're younger, we kind of throw our body at things and like let it bounce back whenever it bounces back. And that was my history with running. And I was like, well, I'm never going to be a distance runner. I still don't plan to be a distance runner, but with the way that I've changed the way that I train, my body is redistributing some weight. And then I look at the running community online, and I know from when I was a running coach, because I was a coach for our group, Couch to 5K and then 5K to 10K. I was like, I'm out here training. I'm doing a lot more endurance training. I, you know, my thing is every race I've ever been in, I finished last, and my pace has never been below probably 18 or 20. I think I can run a 15-minute mile if I really, really push it. So I'm like, because I know a lot of people focus on pace. I know a lot of times people focus on how they finish. And I'm just like, you know what? I am a runner. I've always liked the community. I've competed in enough races. I stay within the distance I stay within. I'm like, I'm kind of looking at my own way of getting into running, because I look at, like, if I look at the other types of, like, I guess, training communities, I'm not interested in doing like CrossFit. I'm not interested in doing like the Olympic lifting or the power lifting or anything like that, because my lower body, I train it for strength and endurance, but it looks a lot more like physical therapy and rehab. It's not like a bunch of heavy weight bearing exercises for my lower body. So, it's been kind of looking at this and being like, I'm going to redefine what running looks like, but it does take a certain amount of strength, because it's that thing that we, even back from when we were little kids, I don't, I'm doing things differently, I don't fit in and all that. And it's being able to look at it and be like, no, this is like, I actually enjoy this. I enjoy that I'm doing hard things my way. So, yeah.
I think that's, it's important. It's an important shift, and it's kind of where my mind has shifted. Just working through some of the injuries and the setbacks and things that I've had to work through, I've shifted to, like, I just enjoy being out here and being able to move.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. Like, yeah, I'm still gonna look at my watch, and I'm still gonna set some goals for myself. But at the same time, I just appreciate that I'm able to be out here. At the end of the day, I'm still running these races. I'm still doing it. And if I lost that, that would be terrible. So I just want to be able to move and be out there. And that's what's important. So that's a mindset shift. But, and we've talked about it on other episodes about, having our way of doing things and just encouraging movement. So the fact that you're thinking about getting out here and doing races again and under your own guidelines and your own expectations, I love that. And I think that's great.
I really like in our group, so it's going to be you, me, and Zach. I love that he's the marathoner. I love that you do the Spartans and you do all these longer distance races too. And I'm like, I'm going to do 5Ks. I'm going to be the finishing last in every single race that I do. And I think just amongst the three of us and doing the same activity, everybody brings their own perspective and their own flavor to it. And I think that's, it's just it's an example of people doing the same thing, but doing it their own way. And it's just a very clear example of that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this episode. Like, I was like, it's kind of crazy how that plans.
Yeah. It really is. But and it's, it's a scale that expands to so many of our listeners, I'm sure, that think about the way that they do it. And I think one of the biggest lessons that CP can teach you is that, strength, it's not always loud and visible. It's different for everyone. And if, strength looks different in your life right now, that doesn't make it any less real. And that is a good example, talking about, the three of us and our running journeys. And hopefully overall it's a message that, resonates with others, that it does look different and that's okay. And, just being out there and having an appreciation for what you're able to do.
Yeah. And I think the only way, so like, I'm curious because I'm approaching this a different way than I ever did before. Whereas now with the training and the recovery and the stuff that I do post workout, post-training session and just day-to-day stuff. If I find that I'm basically trying to will my body to do this to recover, like I'm doing a race and then I can't recover for like a week and I'm starting to feel the wear and tear, like the way that I was doing things before, I will have to change activities. But I've been training this way for a few months, and I'm thinking that the next part of it is just to do some of the shorter races. I used to say that I would be 5K ready to sign up for a race and just do it on the weekend. That's still kind of what I do. And again, I will probably walk the vast majority of it and run a few sprints here and there. Again, it's me doing it my way. So
yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of people that do like a walk run mix, or they just walk it. I know somebody that signed up for a bunch of 5Ks last year and they walked every one of them and they loved it. And I think, you're out there in the community, you're with the community of runners, and you're participating, and if it's a race that has a medal,
collect those medals, baby. Absolutely.
Your medal, everybody's medal is the same. It doesn't, you signed up for a race and you finish that race, you get the same medal that everybody else gets. And you, outside all that, that you did something. You signed up, you challenged yourself to do something, and you finished. So who cares how you finish? I think just that you do it is a great thing.
So too. Now, do you find signing up for events helps you stay focused with your training?
Absolutely. I've said this before, and that's one of the reasons I tend to put races on my calendar for me, for my own mental health and my own mindset. Just having a race on the calendar, having a goal, it keeps me motivated. It gives me something to work toward. I go out a couple mornings a week, either before work or on my lunch, a couple days a week. I will run this 3-mile loop around my house.
Yeah.
And I can do that regardless if I have a race on the calendar or not. But when I have a race on the calendar, it just gives me that little bit of push and that little bit of motivation for days when I would maybe not want to do it. I'd maybe wake up and say, like, I don't feel like doing this, whatever. But then I have a race on the calendar. It puts me in that mindset where I got something to work toward. Like I have a race on Sunday. And so I ran this morning, and it was a little cold and I was a little unsure, but I was like, no, I want to get one more race, or I want to get one more loop so that I feel good about Sunday. And so it just helps me. I think having something on the calendar, a goal to work toward, can be big.
Do you think, and we kind of touch on this through various episodes, but how has your definition of strength changed through the years, do you think?
Oh, so much. It's interesting because I didn't really participate. I wouldn't have called myself like an athlete.
Right.
I never considered I'm not an athlete. That's the mindset I had. I did some intramural stuff when I was younger, but I didn't participate in a lot of stuff. And I always thought you had to like we talked about in the beginning, lift a certain amount of weight and look a certain way. And I never really thought about the mental aspect, like the just showing up, just showing up when things are hard, or being willing to adapt. Like I tore my labrum a couple years ago, and I could have just said, like, I can't run. I have a torn labrum. Like, I can't. It would be so easy to say I can't.
Right.
But I said, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I went out and found a brace, and I tried so many things that worked and didn't work, and physical therapy, and it was like throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
So that I could continue. And there's a lot of strength in that. Just like I could have just nobody would fault me if I said like, oh, I can't run anymore. I have a torn labrum.
Yeah.
Nobody would question that. They would just accept like he can't run. But that's not what I wanted more for myself. And so there's a lot of strength in that, just pushing forward and finding ways to adapt and continue. And like I said earlier, like this year, I don't really care where I finish. I'm out here doing a lot of special races. I'm running a race in September where I am going to be a guide for another person. I'm going to push one of the race strollers in a tandem race for a disabled individual that wants to be out there. And so that's one of many where I'm just so glad that I'm able to do that and I'm able to be out there, and none of that other stuff matters. And so that's a big shift for me, because when I first started running, it was always like, oh, I finished this race in 26 minutes. That means the next one I want to try to get in 25 or 24. And I'm always trying to one up myself. And I spent a lot of last year doing that. And it was like fun, but I realized like that's not really important. The fact that I'm out here and I'm able to do this, that's what matters. And so I don't really care about that now. And that's a big shift for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was like that. Like I would be very, and I just thought of this. We've talked about like the last quarter mile of a race, or when you're coming up on the finish line and the adrenaline hits and all that. I think a lot of when we're talking about mental focus and strength, I think it's when your mind is just quiet. So for me at that point, there'd be all kinds of like positive feelings coming over me, but at the same time, a lot of self-critical. You're finishing last, you've got the CP sweat going on, you got all this other stuff. And but like I think this time it's like, can I just keep my mind quiet? Can I take in the moment? Can I look at the people that are clapping and cheering for me to finish the finish line and not even hear any kind of criticisms? Because you're right. Like it's about showing up and it's about doing what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having gratitude and enjoying the moment. And that's, the race I'm running on Sunday. It's the first one that I ran when I made the decision to do a 5K. This is that same race. And so it's a special one for me. But the first year I ran it, when I'm coming down this one stretch and there's people blowing bubbles and holding signs, and did you like enjoy that moment? I'll be curious to see like how it feels this time. Because I do have like a different perspective than I had 4 years ago, when I first went out there and it was like, I'm out here, can I even do this? And then I saw that I finished. And so but it's a different mindset, and it's a different appreciation for the fact that I'm out here. And so I'm looking forward to that full circle moment when I get out there Sunday and run this race again.
Yeah, I think your perspective will be completely different. I mean, because you've been there before. Now, a lot of times you've been there a lot now. The other thing, I was thinking about this when you were asking about what strength is. I think sometimes, because I've dealt with it. I know that you and I have talked about it before. I know a lot of other people deal with it too. Sometimes strength is making it through the day and realizing tomorrow can be better. That takes on a whole different meaning for each person, but I think it's important to say that too.
No, absolutely. I love that. And I think, just being able to pick yourself up and push forward and have that mindset that like tomorrow will be a better day. There's so many different layers to it. So I hope the different angles that we talked about and the different perspectives that we brought to it. I hope that it's meaningful for our listeners. I hope that brings them, some value. I hope that they find some value in the conversation. But I think it's an important topic, and I'm glad we were able to talk about it.
I'm too. I think this was good.
Yeah. So I know that we've been on a roll with a lot of different topics and guests, and there's a lot more that we're going to continue to bring to the podcast. I always like to say at the end, as we wrap these up, if there are topics that you want us to talk about, things that you think are important or you want to hear our perspective on, reach out, because we're pretty open about our journeys and the way that we work through these different things. And so if there's something that you think would bring value, then reach out. And I think we're both happy to talk about any of those topics. That's a big part of this, is bringing value to others in the community, and listeners as a whole. So bring those thoughts forward if you have them. We're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Until next time.
We'll do it again then.
Okay, thanks, Daryl.
See you, Chad.